Hey Booksters, it's Morgan, and in today's video we're going to talk about which order you should read the Sarah J Maas novels. She currently has 3 series: Throne of Glass, Crescent City, and A Court of Thorns and Roses. And I'm going to try to help you figure out in which order you should start, because it kind of depends on you. So the first 2 series are Throne of Glass and A Court of Thorns and Roses. And they are quite different. So if you're trying to figure out which one you should start with, Throne of Glass is more war-based. And I would say A Court of Thorns and Roses is more romance-based. So if you like a lot of action in your book, I would say go Throne of Glass. If you like more love stories and development within that, I would say go Court of Thorns and Roses. Now, let's talk about Throne of Glass. So when you start Throne of Glass, the general idea of it is that it is about an assassin named Celaena Sardothien, and she ends up getting captured, and she is told that she can be released from this eternal prison if she competes in these games, and that is how the first Throne of Glass novel starts. But as you continue, once you get to, I think it's the 5th book, there is something called a tandem read, where it's suggested that you can read 2 books and you go back and forth. And someone had made a whole thing about how you can go back and forth between the 2 books, because one of the books is just about one character's journey. So if you feel like that could bore you, you can do the tandem read. Also, there is a prequel called Assassin's Blade, and you can either read that first before you read anything else. It gives you a backstory on how Celaena ended up getting captured. Or you can read it, I think they call it the romantic version, where you read the first 3 books, kind of learn more about Celaena, and then you go back and realize why she's all messed up with the prequel. I read the romantic version. I would consider myself a romantic, and I thought it was so boring to read Assassin's Blade after Heir of Fire, especially because the end of Heir of Fire is so good that I was just like, yeah, let's speed this up, you know? But it is an option to do that. I would probably suggest reading the prequel first, so starting with Assassin's Blade, which is actually like 3 kind of like mini chapters. I think she made them like on the side and then kind of put them all together in a book. And then you'll read the rest of the novels, and then you'll tandem read, let's see, Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn, I believe. And that will get you through Throne of Glass. So let's assume you do the war version and you start with Throne of Glass. Once you finish that, you'll go on to A Court of Thorns and Roses, which you can buy in this box set, and you'll just have them all together. The box set's like $50, and you can get it at Target. A lot of times they do sales too, so there is an option to save some money on that. I've seen it as cheap as like $35. I did not pick it up then, because I, for some reason, thought it was going to be a longer sale than it was. So I ended up buying it full price, but honestly, it's not too bad. And occasionally you can get it on the Libby app, which is like a free library card app. But sometimes it puts you on a wait list for a really long time. So it just kind of depends on what everyone's reading currently. So A Court of Thorns and Roses is about, the protagonist's name is Farah, and she's hunting, and she comes across this wolf, and she kills the wolf. This all happens in like the first chapter, or first chapters, so it's not really, and there's no spoilers in this. And then this guy comes, and he's like, kind of like a life for life kind of vibe, like you have to come back with me to this spring court. And she's like, whatever. Her family's like impoverished and stuff, so she's like, it's whatever. And then the book progresses, and there's a bunch of different love stories, etc, etc. What's cool about A Court of Thorns and Roses, reading it second, is that there are some tie-ins with Crescent City. I would say more so with Crescent City and A Court of Thorns and Roses than with Throne of Glass. There are some nods to both series in Crescent City. So I feel like when you get to Crescent City and you start hearing about certain things, you'll be like, oh, that sounds like something in A Court of Thorns and Roses. And there are a bunch of different theories on how characters are related in all the books, or who characters kind of derive from in other series. So it is an interesting way to read that. And then once you get to the Crescent City books, you will read the first and then the second. There's nothing super special about that, but the third one does come out at the end of January, so it is coming up. So it's super exciting time to read the whole series and kind of get through it. In terms of book boyfriends, if people are like, I need a good book boyfriend right now as we approach Valentine's Day, in Throne of Glass there are quite a few guys, but I would say the main ones are Dorian, he is the prince, Chaol, who is like the head of the guard, and they're best friends, and then you meet Rowan later, and he's a different love interest. I will always be a Prince Dorian stan. I love a fluffy, black-haired, angsty guy. And Prince Dorian's kind of like that because he has such a good heart and he is always trying to make the right decisions, but his dad sucks and he is kind of just like this little party boy, but as it progresses, he really grows on you. Chaol, I don't like. I'm very anti-Chaol, so that's why I ended up doing the tandem read, because the Tower of Dawn book is all about his story, and he goes off and has this whole book about him, which I was like, how does Chaol get a book and Dorian doesn't? But some people do like Chaol. It is an option. When you get to A Court of Thorns and Roses, there is Tamlin, who is in charge of the Spring Court. There is Rhysand, who starts as, I'm trying to remember what he starts as. He's another character. He gives bad boy energy, and then you meet a bunch of other characters as well. It is also LGBTQIA friendly, and there are some characters that are lesbian, bi, and polyamorous. So kind of cool. There is a love interest for everyone in this series, which is really nice. So besides that, that is all of the works of Sarah J Maas. Besides, she made this standalone Catwoman book. I think DC paid her to write this book. They were having authors write certain mini stories about different characters, and so she did write this book called Catwoman. I have not read it. I've heard mixed reviews. I do love superheroes though, so it might be something interesting for me to read eventually. Maybe in 2024 I'll add it to my to-do list. But anyways, just to say that if I were you, I would probably do the war read and start with Throne of Glass, then go to A Court of Thorns and Roses, and then finish with Crescent City. So then when you go to the third book of Crescent City 3, you're able to more recently remember things from A Court of Thorns and Roses that will help them connect better. And that has all been said without any spoilers, so you're welcome. But thanks for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Bye guys.